We're going to start off today's lesson with a review of writing an equation in point-slope form given 2 points. Then we're going to move into today's topics, intercepts and word problems. Starting off with our review, remember in order to write an equation given 2 points in point-slope form, we need the slope. So we're going to start by calculating that change in y over change in x. What did I do from my -3 to get -3? Well, I added 0, so that's the numerator of my slope. What did I do to my 3 to make it a 6? My change in x, I added 3, so that's the denominator of my slope. 0 divided by 3 is 0, so this time I have a slope of 0. Now we can substitute this into point slope, simplify in slope-intercept form, but we've got a couple of shortcuts. If the slope is 0, you will have a y equals equation. If the slope is undefined, you will have an x equals equation. And you don't have to memorize this. Which one didn't change, the x or the y? In this case, our y value stayed the same, so it will be a y equals equation. If your x value doesn't change, if your x value stays the same, it will be an x equals equation. So the rest of these steps are, if you forget this, you can still go through the process of substituting it into that point slope form. But if you remember this, it will be a much faster way to write your equation. So let's see what happens on this one. Change in y over change in x will give us our slope. What did we do to our -1? To make it a -4. Now some of you are still having a hard time with negatives, so let me remind you of what a number line looks like. When you move to the left of 0, the numbers get smaller and you are subtracting. So to move from -1 to -4, you are moving left 3 or subtracting 3. So my numerator is -3. And what is my change in x? What did I do to my 8 to keep it an 8? I added 0. So my denominator is 0. Division by 0 is undefined. Let me remind you why division by 0 is undefined. Every division problem you can rewrite as a multiplication problem. So let's start with a simple one. Let's say we have 8 divided by 4 equals 2. You could rewrite that as a multiplication problem by doing 4 times 2 equals 8. So let's try and rewrite this as a multiplication problem. Notice this was the denominator and this was the answer. So I'm going to start with my denominator times, we don't know our answer just yet, equals -3. 8 was the number we were dividing into. That's the numerator of our fraction. 0 times what gives us -3? There is no possible number that you can multiply by 0 to equal something other than 0. So that's why division by 0 is undefined. So hopefully, after running through this, you now remember, depending on where the 0 is, if it's a 0 slope or an undefined slope. Division by 0, 0 in the denominator, is undefined. So our equation will be an x equals. Again, you don't have to memorize this. You do have to recognize if the slope is 0 or undefined, but you don't have to memorize if it's y equals or x equals. Look at your coordinates. Which value didn't change? In this case, x stayed 8, so we have an x equals 8 equation for this line.